It all comes to a head 1606. Caravaggio's had some disappointments. Things have gone badly for him. And there's some kind of dispute. And he and three other men, and Tomassoni and three other men, meet on the French ambassador's tennis court in the center of Rome. Now, the French ambassador's tennis court was a tennis court, but it was also a place where, for example, I know from other archives that they had fencing matches. So it's a good place to have a sword fight. And this is a pre-arranged sword fight. And then they start their fight, and within seconds, Tomassoni is lying on the ground, and there's this fountain of blood. I mean, he bleeds all of his lifeblood out in about 10 seconds, 20 seconds, because Caravaggio has cut his femoral artery, which is the artery at the groin, and everyone is covered in blood, everybody. And Tomassoni's 3 seconds, then all covered in blood. They have a fight with Caravaggio's seconds. One of Caravaggio's seconds has 2 fingers cut off and his ear cut off. Caravaggio gets very badly, they say, quite badly anyway, wounded. Tomassoni's dead. They take him to the barber surgeon, nothing can be done. And one of the subtexts, or one of the themes of my book is wounding, and the nature of wounding and the nature of insult. As in, say, for example, modern gangland cities in America, like Chicago, the gangs have their codes and their ways and their rules. And if you get wounded somewhere, it's because you did something. So if you insult my reputation, I wound you on your face. Because reputation, fronte, it's the same word in Italian, face and reputation. It is in English. You save face, you lose face. So if you make me lose face, I make you lose your face. I will cut your face. So, and for example, if you insult me behind my back, I would not do you the honor of challenging you to a duel or fighting with you openly. I would just wait till you weren't looking, and I'd smash you on the back of your head, which is what Caravaggio did to some kids, young art students who were mouthing off about that wonderful painting of the Calling of Matthew. They were saying, oh, it's not very good, it's just a Venetian knockoff. So he heard them, and then he went up behind them. So with Tomassoni, I wouldn't say that it's a coincidence that Caravaggio's cut him in the femoral artery, because the femoral artery is very close to the male member. I think Caravaggio is attempting to castrate him, or in some ways to de-man him sexually, because it's a matter of sexuality. Now, whether it's Philida, we do know that they'd fought over Philida, that they disagreed over. I don't know that it's necessarily Philida, because another archive, little horrible, horrible, dark snapshot is that after Ranuccio Tomassoni is dead, his widow is told by the court that she has to look after their baby. And she says, oh, I'm too young to look after this baby. And so then the judge turns to her mum and says, you must look after this baby. And she says, I'm too old to look after this baby. And the baby is then given to a family lawyer who has to put her into adoption, takes her to a Carmelite monastery. And that's where she spends her life. And she's born as, her name is Felicità, which means happiness. And she changes it to Prudence as soon as she reaches the age of 18. This unhappy child, who's abandoned by her mum, whose father's, is it possible that she was not actually, I mean, Sandra at one point said to me, I wonder if Caravaggio is the father of that child. Because why on earth would the widow give the child away? I mean, why would you give your own child away? Why? Because it's a child of shame. Or it's possible that it just Caravaggio had heard on the grapevine that Ranuccio Tomassoni was being cuckolded, and he'd made the gesture of the horns, and Ranuccio had challenged him, or it could have been Philida. But whatever it was, I think it was sexual. Because Caravaggio's history is everything he does. This is one of the things I wanted to try and write about, to try and clear up, because he's known as a kind of bad guy, like a Rolling Stone of the period. But what I've tried to make clear in the book is that all his bad stuff that he does, it's all completely logical and within the code, and to a certain extent almost proportionate, apart from the castration. It's almost proportionate to what is done to him.
Mm.
It's not just that he gets into trouble all the time. Nearly every time that he gets into trouble, you can see why he did what he did. A waiter's insulted him and called him a Lombard tosser. So he's attacked the waiter. But I mean, that's what Caravaggio is going to do, because he's like that. And he lives in this culture where everyone, you know, no one talks about Bernini, the famous Baroque sculptor, as being a mad guy. But I mean, you know, he tried to beat his brother to death with an iron bar after his brother slept with his girlfriend. Meanwhile, he had his girlfriend severely scarred with a razor blade in her face for having slept with his brother. So Bernini, lovely Bernini, is not quite so lovely. These people are, you know, this is a violent, violent culture.